Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Om Tat Sat. Welcome to all of you. Hope all of you are doing fine. I have been offering my prayers for all of you to Krishna whenever I come in front of the deities, that I have such students and they are very interested in knowing more about Gita. Please bestow your mercy on them so that they will be able to understand Bhagavad Gita and give them strength to practice the chanting of the holy name and read the Bhagavad Gita regularly. This is my prayer for you. Hare Krishna. That's all I can do. As a sannyasi, I cannot do anything else, but I can only give my sincere prayers to Krishna for you. Right. Thank you very much for being here. And I won't overview with you the 5th chapter, Karma Yoga and Krishna consciousness now, but the topic of renunciation, coming from the topic of acting properly or acting improperly or learning how to act properly, about karma, vikarma, akarma, and all these things, it was about action. Krishna has said you must be in Krishna consciousness. You must act in Krishna consciousness. You must serve the Supreme's order. And that is the actual plan. So, Krishna opens up this chapter, continuing his whole explanation on why Arjuna should act by this beautiful chapter called Dhyana Yoga. It will dispel all notions you have about yoga that are wrong and puts in the right perspective what is yoga, especially from the purports written by Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. I presume you have read the 6th chapter, at least some of the shlokas ahead. How many of you actually ventured into reading the 6th chapter? Honestly, because if you don't read, you won't also pick up much. I think I mentioned last time that we will have a practical session of how to enhance some of the practice of Krishna consciousness. One of the things that I would have liked to do is to actually teach you how to read it very simply. Like today, we are doing the first 9 verses. It won't take you more than 15 to 20 minutes to read it. Just 9 verses. That's why I split it up into small modules. Maximum 10 to 12 verses, rarely something more. So that through the week you could read, even if you read a verse a day, you should be able to come ready, having read. So if you don't read, I will not be able to do justice, because I'm presuming you're reading and I'm taking it from there. If you did not read, then we have to sit and read it, which is like, it'll take a long time to read it. Should we go ahead and read it? Since you have not read it, which means that my explanations of it have to be cut down. And I can explain as you read, because it's very essential that you read. If you did not read, then it'll be very difficult for you to hold on to some things that I'm saying. So will you give me word that the next time you will come having read this through the whole week? Raise your hands if you're giving me word that, yeah, from next week I would have come having read it. So my blessings and my prayers are going to affect those who are going to read. Since you're not reading, I'm going to be conditional about. I'm joking. But I know you're all in different situations and circumstances. But there is no option to reading the Gita, to understand the Gita. There is one shortcut I cannot give you. I know you like Swamiji's class and then you like to sit down and do nothing and hear about it. I understand. But do this little extra, this thing, sit 15, 20 minutes before the session. Start at, that's why we're starting at 8:15. By 7:30, you can start reading it. Please do that, okay? Right. Thank you. Thank you. You are still my dear students. Fine. So today's from 1 to 9 shlokas, and we pray to Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada for his mercy. Krishna starts explaining yoga. What is yoga? Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Anashritah karma phalam kajyam karma karoti jaha sasanyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na chakriyah. I will read this for today. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life. And he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. So, this is the very popular understanding that a sannyasi means he will not do any work. He will just sit down and meditate. And everybody has to bring him food. Everybody has to do this for him. Of course, a sannyasi is a very exalted status. It is in the varna and ashrama, in the varna and ashrama, in the ashrama stage, it is like the topmost. A sannyasi is a person who is matured. He is, done Krishna conscious activity throughout his life. And he's totally renounced from all civil duties and performances. Nobody expects him to do all material types of duties. And he is not asked for anything, but everybody is interested in doing something for him. Why? Because he is fixed in the absolute truth. He does nothing else but being associated in work with the Supreme Personality of Godhead only. So everybody knows whatever I do as a seva for the sannyasi will be used by him for service to the Supreme. Therefore, I should offer him service by my mind, by my body, by my words, by my wealth. Because where is it going? It will go directly to the Supreme. So this is the faith everybody has. Samnyasi comes from the word S-A-M-N-Y-A-S-I. Samnyasi means everything that is material, he gives up. Nyasa. Nyasa means to give up. I won't do that. So what does it mean? Anything that is materially oriented. And what does materially oriented mean? Anything that is meant for my material enjoyment, I give up. I only manage for my basic requirements to run this body, whatever is required for eating a little, sleeping a little, and holding the body together so that I can keep it fit to serving Krishna, the Supreme Absolute. Right? So, however Krishna ordains, I will work according to that because I'm not attached to the fruit. I am doing it according to his order. Whatever he wants, I would do. That is the reason Karna, when he was lifting the chariot wheel stuck in the ground in a pit, that time amazingly, Krishna asks Arjuna, now is the time to shoot him. And Arjuna is amazed. I, as a Kshatriya, should not lift weapons against somebody who is not armed. But Krishna is saying so. It's not morally, ethically proper. And it is even not proper as per Kshatriya rules and regulations. But because Krishna says so, he does it. He knows morality, he knows ethics, he's a great Kshatriya man. He will never do such things normally. But he does it because Krishna does it, says so. This is the crux of that matter. And why he says so, Krishna has got his own moral, ethical reasons, plus other reasons also, that he explains separately. But the point here is, if it satisfies Krishna, I would do it. If Krishna says so, I would do it. Even going against my Kshatriya principles. Because what's the meaning of principle? For what am I holding that principle? For satisfying Krishna. And if Krishna himself says, break that, just do what I'm telling you to do, I'll do it. Just like a son would do whatever the father says, whatever the mother says. Because he has full faith. So here, as he is obligated, who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life. Really renounced order, sannyasi, means one who simply does what Krishna asks you to do. But he will do. It's not that he will stop doing. The common understanding is that a sannyasi will stop work. You should not ask him to do any type of work. No, he will not do work for his material enjoyment. But he'll definitely do work for Krishna with his mind, body, words, and wealth. So Krishna is defining that here by saying that sannyasi actually means a person who does anything required for the supreme absolute truth, Krishna. Not that he lights no fire and performs no duty. I am sannyasi, I cannot do that. I am sannyasi, I cannot do this. Some people take sannyas to escape from all the responsibilities they have materially. Sannyas is not meant for that. Sannyas is not meant that you are fried with your grahastha household life, your wife is constantly haranguing you, and your children are asking you for many things, and you go on a lot of loans, and you have got a bad name in society, and your job is, difficult and all that. It's not that because of that you take sannyas. So that you don't have any duty, nobody will touch you, and you can escape in the name of sannyas. That is a bogus sannyasi. Sannyasi is a person who completely dedicates himself to Krishna. He doesn't do anything else. Right? So, here is Prabhupada's quote for you, the criterion. Somebody can read that. Please go ahead and read. Go ahead. Anybody? Sharanya?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. The criterion of perfection is to act in Krishna consciousness and not with a view to enjoying the fruits of work.
Yes, that is the thing. Not interested in enjoying the fruits, but ready to work. Ready to work. Okay? Point you note. Then, another quote that I want to bring to you, that you can also read, it highlights this same instance. I would ask Girish to read it. Girish?
A person in Krishna consciousness has no opportunity to engage his senses in anything which is not for the purpose of Krishna. Therefore, a Krishna conscious person is simultaneously a sannyasi and a yogi.
So if you go to the second shloka, thank you Girish and thank you Sharanya. If you go to the second shloka, open the book in front of you. Krishna starts explaining in the second shloka what sannyasam is, carrying it on from the first. Yam sannyasam prahur yogam tam vidhi pandava nahi asanyasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kaschana. What is called renunciation, which is sannyasa, you should know to be the same as yoga, or linking oneself with the Supreme, O son of Pandu. For one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. So Krishna is saying here, yoga and sannyasa are both same. Why? When you leave one thing, material, this thing, you should hold on to Krishna. Unless you have practiced holding on to Krishna, you will not be able to give up. First of all, unless you have been practicing it throughout, little by little, you cannot do some nyasa. You should start doing some nyasa, little bit, S-O-M-E, nyasa. Every day, something, give up. And slowly build it up to a point where you feel, now enough, I can give up everything. And you become sannyasi at a later stage in your life. But throughout life, both in brahmacharya life, grahastha life, manaprastha life, you are mounting up, giving up and getting ready. And sannyasa means everything given up. Krishna is saying, why he is able to do it is because throughout he has been cultivating Krishna consciousness, or rather is increasing the percentage of akarma in his life, reducing the percentage of vikarma and karma. So at some point of time, he can completely jump into akarma. So Krishna is saying, the person called sannyasi and the person called yogi is both the same. Yoga means coming from the Sanskrit word yuj. Yuj means to tie up, to unite, to bond with, to union with. And one person who is completely in union with the Supreme Absolute is considered to be sannyasi anyway. A perfect yogi is a sannyasi. A sannyasi is supposed to be a yogi. A yogi is a person who is in full Krishna consciousness. All these are synonymous. Okay? That's the point being made here by Krishna in these two shlokas. Right? That's why this quote of Prabhupada is very relevant. Therefore, a Krishna conscious person is simultaneously a sannyasi and a yogi. Right? I hope you got that. Then Krishna goes further to start explaining a very interesting topic. Third shloka, Arurukshor muner yogam karma karana muchyate yoga rudhasya tasyaiva samah karana muchyate. Okay, can somebody read the translation for the third shloka? Please, somebody can read the translation for the third shloka.
The whole process of becoming connected to the absolute truth is called yoga. According to the level of purification, one is situated in a particular rung of the ladder of yoga. The rungs of the hidden...
No, Mataji, you have to read the translation.
I don't have...
Shloka 3, translation.
I read.
Read.
For one who is a neophyte in the eightfold yoga system, work is said to be the means, and for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means.
Okay, got it. I have helped to summarize the beautiful purport of Prabhupada there. The first sentence in the purport says the process of linking oneself with the Supreme is called yoga. Very powerful definition. How the conditioned soul who has been separated links up back. The process of doing that is called yoga. So here, Prabhupada explains that this shloka is saying that the whole thing of yoga is like a ladder. The bottommost portion of the yoga is called Arurukshor Munir Yogam, and the top is called Yoga Rudasya Tasyaiva Samah Karana Muchyate. And it starts with material life on the conditioned modes and doing, some type of connection. Let me have, and a little bit you start. Then you take up karma yoga. We have nishkama karma, sakama karma, and all that we discussed. And then you will advance further to go to jnana yoga. You cultivate more knowledge, information, everything, and you become very serious. And then you do ashtanga yoga and seriously meditate on the Lord, not just knowledge. And it reaches the topmost rung of the ladder is you attain bhakti and Krishna consciousness, which is called technically Bhakti Yoga. And in that Bhakti Yoga, fully absorbed in love of Krishna and in serving Krishna and enjoying unlimited bliss. So this whole process, it's not that there are different types of yoga. It is actually one thing called yoga, and these all have got positions: karma, jnana, ashtanga yoga, bhakti. Bhakti is considered to be the topmost rung of the ladder, as Krishna will explain here throughout in this chapter. So don't look at yoga the way it is marketed in the outside world. You'll get a wrong idea completely. The word yoga is very important and has got a deep meaning, and the simplest basic understanding is linking with the Supreme. So here is some of the highlights from the purport. A, the whole process of becoming connected to the absolute truth is called yoga. See, the word absolute truth is used. I'm reading from the screen, which you are also able to see. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah. So A, the whole process of becoming connected to the absolute truth is called yoga. Who is connecting? The conditioned soul. B, according to the level of purification one is attained, is situated in a particular rung of the ladder of yoga. So I will be showing you one other slide to summarize it further. But you see, the bottommost is I'm still materialistic, but I go on weekends to the Hare Krishna center. I chant some japa, I hear one lecture, and I come back. I want to remain connected. I know that's important, but I'm still making a decision and I'm swinging to and fro a little bit. But little bit connection I keep. That's like the bottommost. Material life conditioned by the modes, but still interested. Then gradually, as you do that a longer time and you get to read Gita, maybe attend a course and maybe become a little serious, chant Krishna's name, become fixed in your understanding that I must do this at least a little bit. Then you start slowly becoming a karma yogi. What can I do to serve Krishna? Can I sweep the floor? Can I distribute Bhagavad Gita? Can I enroll students for this course? Can I give some of my money for the Abhishekam that is going to happen on Janmashtami? Can I contribute to the temple construction? Can I bring my friends also for this program? Can I distribute some prasadam? You start linking yourself through your capabilities. I can speak well, let me advertise this. I am a good salesman, let me sell the Gita in this session for you. Some of my abilities I'll start using. Karma yoga. In doing things for Krishna, I will start. And that leads further and further. There are many intermediate steps which I have not drawn here. Nishkama karma yoga will come on top. Sakama karma yoga it will start with. And like that it will go. Then you come to the point of Gyan. Right? The rungs of the ladder culminate in bhakti or devotion to Krishna as the goal of yoga. So the goal of yoga, Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita, very clearly at the end of the chapter you will see, is bhakti. Yoga should culminate in bhakti. These are different stages in yoga. D, the process of yoga consists of work, knowledge, renunciation, meditation, and devotion directed towards Krishna. This whole ladder, you will see all these things coming into force at various times. When you're in the lower rung of the ladder, work comes more important. When you're a little higher, knowledge becomes more important. When you're a little more higher in that, renunciation and meditation becomes much more important. And after all this is, done to some level by you, you get some good capacity and capability to be renounced and everything, bhakti becomes the most important focus. One can practice the direct process of bhakti yoga from any position and attain bhakti also. You don't have to go through these stages, actually, because bhakti is a standalone process capable of giving you directly the supreme destination. Okay, and what is that? So one is a direct process, one is the indirect process, step by step. Step by step is you are in the uncivilized world and nobody teaches you anything. You do a lot of sinful activity and you don't know what the hell is going on. And finally, somebody teaches you Bhagavad Gita and you become a little serious and take to the next step of karma. At least I'll do my duties properly as per Veda. become a little civilized, a follower of Vedic culture. From there, you climb on to Sakama Karma Yoga and Nishkama Karma Yoga. And then from there, you get greater purification and you climb on to real knowledge, gathering the Bhagavad Gita and read it thoroughly. I want to understand it nicely. Wow, this is wonderful. I always want to know this. And then you write your notes, then you speak about it to others. You collect gyan from more and more people, and then you mature. Then you understand, wow, meditating on Krishna is the topmost thing. It is the goal of life. And then only I'll be able to capture Krishna consciousness. So you step on to meditation, Ashtanga Yoga. But meditation on Krishna leads you to complete purification because you're always connected with the Supreme and thinking about Him, feeling about Him. Ananyas chintayanto mam yejana paryupasate. You'll develop and blossom in your devotion will rise in your heart and you become completely absorbed in bhakti. But this is step-by-step process. But from wherever you are today now, you can chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You can offer your food to Krishna and take prasadam. You can keep away from sinful activities. You can have good association. You can worship the Lord in your house in a picture, in a vigraha, in a shalagrama, and you can actually worship Tulasi. You can read Bhagavat and start Bhakti Yoga process from wherever you are. Even if you are a Vikarmi, if you start doing Bhakti Yoga, it is so powerful, it will purify you very fast. Directly you can reach this platform. That is what we are trying to tell you. Krishna is telling in the 12th chapter, he'll show you this again in a greater detail. But at any point in time, from anywhere, even a dog can take part in it and become a devotee. Gajendra is an elephant, become a devotee. And there are numerous instances. Why? Because Bhakti Yoga is practiced. Now you should understand what is yoga. This whole thing together is called yoga. But the purpose of yoga is to reach devotion to Krishna, Krishna consciousness. Okay? Note that. So that is what will be the introductory principles here. After that, he defines yoga and sannyasa. Then Krishna goes, the central piece of yoga is the mind. Yoga and mind are very closely. Why? It's about meditation. It's about unceasing focus on Krishna, right? And what is the mind? I must explain a little bit to you here because we have notions about the mind based on what we are taught, which in some places is right also. It's not wrong. And we also have experience of the mind on an everyday basis, how it torments you, all sorts of thoughts, depressions, elation. And it's a real amazing, challenging situation to manage the mind. So the mind is the crux. So Krishna goes to say in the 5th shloka, you will see that Krishna is saying, Uddharet atmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaibaghi atmano bandhur atmaivaripuraatmanah. Because you cannot learn yoga without understanding the mind, especially Ashtanga Yoga. So, what is he saying? Who likes to read that? Hema, Malini, you want to read I think you tried to read, but you got the purport. Would you like to read the translation on the screen?
Thank you, Prabhuji. One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well.
Thank you, Hema.
Thank you. Namaste, Guruji.
Note this. He is the friend and the enemy. And in this purport starts by saying Atma means mind, Atma means body, Atma means soul in Sanskrit. So he has decoded it for you in the translation by saying wherever Atma is mind is connecting it properly and telling you, the mind can be your friend, the mind can be your enemy. So which mind have you contacted mostly? What type of mind, the enemy mind or the friend mind, have you experienced? Which one have you experienced mostly?
Enemy mind, Maharaj.
Which one have you experienced?
Friend mind.
Enemy mind.
Huh?
Enemy mind, Maharaj.
Is it?
Enemy mind, Maharaj.
Somebody will say you're very negative. You don't have a positive view of life.
Mostly enemy mind,
Why do
Maharaj.
you say, why do
Occasionally
you
friendly.
say, oh gosh,
How
why are
will-
you so negative?
Exactly.
The mind
How
is
will one
mind.
know which mind?
Yeah,
How will one know which mind is? I mean, mind is your friend, so you don't know whether it's enemy or
okay,
not an enemy.
right. So look at this now. Now you're getting into a very softer domain, your subtle body domain. Krishna started explaining to you your subtle body now. And that's where is the real thing. Mind is your enemy when it is not controlled by you. Mind becomes your friend when you sit on top of it and control it. Just understand this. And it's very subtle. It's not something that you can catch. You can hold with your hand. It's highly subtle. You simply find it extremely difficult because you'll see Arjuna expressing in this chapter. Krishna has said this. Arjuna will give an answer to that later. Saying, forget it. I can never control the mind. He will say that later. So I thought I'll explain to that more at that point. But here, simple principle you should understand is a controlled mind is your friend and an uncontrolled mind is your enemy. Principle. Now, what is the meaning of the mind is first thing you must understand. The mind is not something physiologically present there if you cut open your head and see it. But we always think something wrong with him, we tell. Ayalakku endo kolara in Malayalam they'll say. Or ivanukku paithiyam pidichirukku they'll say in Tamil. That guy is nuts, they'll tell in English. Isn't it? And they'll point to the head always. That guy is nuts. As though if I cut open the head, I can see the mind there. Will you see it? Do you see the mind there? No.
Oh, Maharaj.
You see the brain. Maybe. Sometimes we cut some of these political guys' head, that also will not be there. I can assure you. The type of programs and things they have, great relief, especially. So anyway, that's a joke on the side. But there are ideas, people thinking that they point to the head always. So when you cut open, you don't see it. So it doesn't have a physiological, physical presence. It's subtle, but it's very powerful. It governs your entire life every day. It's the most important thing. So Krishna has now come fine from this place, from first chapter onwards, he has come to this point of saying, just get the mind under control. For controlling the mind is telling you do yoga. Ashtanga yoga. And then you'll see in this chapter, Arjuna will say, I can't do it because I can't control the mind like this, like what you're saying. It's a very interesting chapter because he'll say, I cannot do this. I'm a soldier. I'm passionate. You got to shoot blood, kill people and everything. What do you expect me to sit down and look at the tip of my nose and half closed eyes? And I just can never do those type of stuff. Tell me to fight, I'll fight. So you learn from Bhagavad Gita that Arjuna is doing the greatest yoga by fighting and killing people for Krishna. Why? That is for the purpose of Krishna consciousness he is doing, and is doing it in full meditation. I should follow the order of Krishna and doing it. Therefore, it becomes yoga. Because his mind is fixed in satisfying Krishna. Okay? If you can absorb your mind in Krishna, you're a yogi. But if I'm not able to do that, then I should do Ashtanga Yoga, sit in one place, lock my body in one place, and then sit down and try to lock my mind using the breathing process. It's a physical process for controlling the mind. It's a bodily process for controlling the mind. But Krishna is also saying you can do it without this by engaging your mind in Krishna consciousness activity. That also you'll be absorbed. Just like, for instance, I don't need to tell, you don't need to tell your son, watch the movie carefully, okay? Don't space out in between and lose your concentration. Do you have to give him this advice? No. But you have to give him advice, better you study. Focus on, give me a phone. Give me that, give me this. Focus on the study. This you have to do to him. 2 instances I'm taking. Why? In one instance, he doesn't like to study. His mind is not focused on his study. Give him a chance, he'll look around here and there, he'll jump out and go to play or browse with the phone and watch something and this, but who the hell wants to study? Some stuff so foreign to me, and I got to write some exam. So, lousiest thing, the last thing I want to do. But you have to do for your future. Therefore, you get yourself a great endeavor and focus. It'll take time for him to focus. And then he gets ready, and then your mom will say, you fail it, you flunk it. This is what people will say about you. And you'll be so much insulted. You'll feel demeaned. You'll feel low. And you'll become inferior. You'll become depressed. Better you study. Wow, really scared me. I better study. So the mom uses all sorts of other tricks. Here, I got you a special chocolate for you because you're studying. Here, I got you a special chocolate drink for you. I give all sorts of bonuses and everything and make him study. Why? I'm asking him to focus. But none of these things I have to do when I ask him to watch the movie. In fact, I don't even ask him to watch the movie. What to speak about me bothered about concentration doing watching the movie? So what's the difference between these 2 instances? Now, one instance is absorbed, completely absorbed in it. There's no necessity to tell me. So we all have the capacity to become absorbed in Krishna because he is the greatest object of attraction. It is just that we have not discovered him. So that's why it says directly you can practice bhakti because everybody naturally loves Krishna because he's your supreme father. Just awaken your love for him, boom, you'll get attracted. Then you don't have to talk about this ladder and the stages. Then your mind naturally becomes controlled. Why? You are in love. Okay? When you're not, then you have to practice that step-by-step procedure. You have to follow a step-by-step procedure. So mind controlled means you are focusing it and planning it and putting it in the pathway of Krishna consciousness. It becomes your friend. When the mind is fixed on Krishna, he will definitely become your friend. But when he's not fixed on Krishna, he will take you this way, that way, up, down, left, right, center. Even when I'm talking to you now, I'm most probably sure you're thinking of many other things. You're thinking of, wow, I forgot to close the fridge door. Wow, I forgot to close. I called the so-and-so, my gosh. If you don't do this, I shut off the video and let me go and do that. Definitely your mind is going to trouble you with 10,000 things that you need to do. And if nothing, you don't have any such duties also, your mind will say, this is boring session. Who says something to you? Nothing exciting the Swamiji is saying. All the stuff, things and all that's very difficult to understand. The mind is going to keep saying something to you. Why? Mind is the central of focus of all the senses, and mind is the central nodal point for all thoughts and instructions coming to you. Actually, you don't have any control over the mind. It's a fact. Certain regular routine stuff that you need to do, the mind will listen to you. If you have to run to the toilet and you have loose motions, definitely the mind will listen to you. It's not that you have to tell the mind, oh, stop watching the movie, let's go and pass stool. You don't have to tell all that. You'll run to the toilet anyway. Isn't it? There are certain routine stuff that we do and we think we are very great. I control my mind. Eating, sleeping, that thing, this thing and all that. It's easy to do with the mind. Do the stuff that's really the meaningful and purposeful in life. Do the stuff that gives you really some benefit. That time it will stand in between and not allow you to do it. Give you 10,000 reasons how not to do it. Then you have to use your intelligence and argue, or take somebody else's argument, convince the mind, and so that it will be with you. And then very slowly you'll be able to do it. And in that also, anytime in between, it'll jump out of place again. This is the way we do things in this world. But when you feed Krishna consciousness to the mind, slowly, 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 you develop a taste. When you develop a taste, he will leap onto it just like your child watching the movie. You don't have to tell me anything. I like it. Boom. Because that natural tendency to love Krishna is there in everybody. You just need to awaken it. That's why Prabhupada is quoting the shloka here. Ata Sri Krishna namadi na bhavet grahyam indriyaihi sevan mukehi jihvado swayameva spuratyadaha. In text 8, in the purport, in the first paragraph, he quotes that. No one can understand the transcendental nature of the name, form, quality, and pastimes of Sri Krishna through his materially contaminated senses. Only when one becomes spiritually saturated by transcendental service to the Lord are the transcendental name, form, quality, and pastimes of the Lord revealed to him automatically. So that's why we are telling you to chant Krishna's name and read Bhagavad Gita. If you don't do it out of your own volition, that means you're a victim of the uncontrolled mind. The fact that you're not able to read the Bhagavad Gita shows that you are under the control of your uncontrolled mind. Very clearly shows it. So you have to battle it. How? I'm going to read it. Every time you want to control the mind, you emphatically do what the mind is telling you not to do. But if the intelligence is also coupled with the mind and telling and convincing the mind, that's a different thing. Morally, ethically right things you want to do, that's fine. But when you want to do Krishna conscious things, read the Bhagavad Gita, chant Hare Krishna, the mind will immediately say, oh, that thing, that's a low activity. It's not very attractive to me. I'm not attached to it. I don't like it. Let's go and do this. Let's watch a movie. Let's do that. Let's phone up this guy and talk to him. That's far more interesting, attractive, because it gives me gratification. So the mind is hardwired for sense gratification. It will always pull you towards gratification. So you must be prepared to work against and change the habits of thinking. For that, it will be a little difficult initially. That's what Krishna says in this chapter. Abhyasayena kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. I know it is difficult to control, but you must put some effort, abhyasa. By practice, you'll be able to do it. So that is what is called sadhana. Now, if you don't have the sadhana of reading Bhagavad Gita regularly, your understanding Bhagavad Gita is a flower in the sky, Akasha Pushpa. Because as soon as the session is over, you'll be looking for the another session. Because you're dependent on somebody speaking to you to get the experience of Gita. Because you will not read on your own. So you become a dependent Gita enthusiast. Whereas you can actually on your own develop your own enthusiasm by sitting quietly and reading it and getting wow and note down this, not I get absorbed in the instruction. What happens then? Your mind will be totally forgotten. You will see that when you start reading Bhagavad Gita with interest, you don't care about anything. You're not bothered even if you're hungry. Parikshit Maharaja heard the Bhagavat for the first time from Shukadeva Goswami, the bank of the Ganges. For 7 days and 7 nights he heard it. No eating, no sleeping, not even drinking water. It's a record. 7 days, 7 nights. He was completely stuck up. It was so absorbing to hear about Krishna for him. And he didn't bother about eating. He didn't bother about sleeping. There's no question of sleep. That much absorption is there if we get to know who Krishna is actually. Because he's the supreme absolute truth who attracts all the conditioned souls. That's why his name is Krishna. Akarshana iti Krishna. One who attracts everybody. His name is Krishna. So if you just open yourself a little bit, you will get attracted. Gradually, step by step, step by step. So here it is mentioned in the 6th shloka, you'll see Bandhuratmana tastasya yenatmai bhatmana jitah anatmanastu shatrutve varte tatmaiva shatruvat. It's a very interesting chapter. It's a lot to do with the mind. For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. So, what would you like to select? You want to have an inimical mind or you want to have a friendly mind? That's the choice you need to make now. An inimical mind sometimes sounds comfortable to you because you don't know about the goal of life. But when you read Bhagavad Gita and start thinking, the intelligence will start opposing the mind. Automatically, a dialogue will occur inside you. It's no more as simple as before. You know what is right, what is wrong, and therefore, out of your intelligence, with the inspiration from Paramatma in the heart, you'll start getting opposition to the mind. And you will pose arguments. But Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita, if you do like this will happen to you. And the mind will quickly think about a reason and come out with it. And then the intelligence against you, but if you do that, this will happen. And you'll see a conversation starts going on inside you. Have you noticed it? And then you get confused. I can't decide. Swamiji, this thing, no, if I do this, but this is you'll say consultation. And then what the Swamiji says is correct. Okay, thank you. And then you go back and tell the mind, I told you, I'm going to do what he says. And the mind gets suppressed a little bit. And then you take your step. I'm going to read the Gita, like he said. You've got 1 point you scored already on the mind for 1 day. Using your intelligence, using Swamiji's words, using Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita purports, you circled it together and hit it. Boom. This is what Krishna means by saying, Abhyasa yenadu kaunteya. Every day gain a little control over and over, which means you have to oppose, which means it's sometimes painful, which means you're attached to things which you're pushing yourself to do and your mind, intelligence telling don't do that, you get stuck. So every day you make a small, minimal, incremental effort and you gain over your mind gradually, right? Then you'll become your friend. Afterwards, the mind will listen to you. That is victory. That is victory. For a pure devotee of the Lord, the mind will stand to serve him. Think of Krishna, woo, immediately think of Krishna. Imagine if your mind is like that. Let's think of Krishna. Come on, snap, boom, and you're able to do it. But that's not the type of mind you have now. I think of Krishna. What? Why Krishna? Is the question that's going to come to you. Why? There are so many other interesting things to do, right? So this dialogue goes inside. You know about the famous Red Indian story of the Cherokee. Cherokee is the Red Indian leader. He's telling the son of his, Father, I get these two voices in my head. I don't know which one to do. One is good, one is bad. So father tells him, listen to the good one. But then the son tells him the bad one is much louder than the good one. And then the father tells him, make the good one louder. Then he asks him, how shall I do that? He said, starve the bad voice and feed the good voice. It will grow louder and louder and louder. Then he tells him the trick. He tells him that if you feed the bad voice, the bad sound, he will grow bigger. If you feed the good voice will grow bigger and the bad voice will grow smaller. Very simple instruction he gave. Very simple instruction he gave. So we should learn where to put our attention and what to feed and what to starve. It'll be a little difficult inside because of attachment, but you should starve these bad propositions coming from the mind and feed the good propositions coming when he is influenced by the intelligence. This way the mind gradually will become your friend. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the guru of our founder Prabhupada, he said every day in the morning, get up, beat the mind 1,000 times with the broom. In the night before you sleep, beat it 10,000 times with the shoes. He used this. Just an instruction he gave to his disciples. This is your daily sadhana you should do. Whenever he says all these things which are completely against reality, beat the living daylights out of him with a broom. What did he say? And beat him up. And then do the right thing. Make it a practice. So this is an important point, and I'm linking it to your activity of Krishna consciousness, because the mind will stand in the center. And if you don't do it, you don't get it. That's all. There is no other option. There's only two options, friend or enemy. There is no in-between option standing on the fence. Krishna is giving two options. So we'll have to do it. Gita atmanah prashantasya. You'll see. Let me go here. So, there's a little something to think about. People in this world, although they are very famous now, have horrible mentalities. If you look at what they are thinking in their mind, it's low-class stuff. It's like a vulture, it says, soars very high in the sky, but it's thinking of where is the next dead body that I can feed on. So, persons whom you should associate with is not these vultures who are very famous or popular or know how to exploit people and make money and all that. They will kill your mind further. Your mind will become a bigger enemy. People whom you should work with are those people who have soaring thoughts of Krishna and may not be great personalities in this world because they don't care. Their value systems are different, right? So here is Prabhupada saying, the criterion of perfection is to act in Krishna consciousness and not with a view to enjoying. Oh, we already did this. Sorry. Before one acts, there is some impetus, which is called inspiration. Any solution arrived at before work is actualized in a subtle form of work. Then work takes the form of action. First one has to undergo the psychological processes of thinking, feeling, and willing. That is called impetus. When the inspiration is there and the worker is there, then actual activity takes place by the help of the senses, including the mind, which is the center of all the senses. I'm taking this extract from the 18th chapter purport because I want to show you how we act and why the mind is very important. We act first, and the psychological process of thinking, feeling, willing is described here. And for all this, the mind is involved. The business of the mind is thinking, feeling, willing. Sankalpa, vikalpa, acceptance and rejectance. You're thinking, feeling, willing. The senses contact the sense objects, and then you meditate on it. Then you start thinking. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu pajayate. We heard that in the second chapter. Dhyana. You start focusing and looking, thinking, feeling, willing, and then it creates an impetus. All this is the work of the mind. Then you get inspired to do something, even if it is wrong. And then you start acting with your body and your senses. So the work starts from the mind. The subtle process of work is already being done in the mind. And then the physical process is much easier to do. Okay? So now you understand the importance of remaining in the association of devotees, talking about Bhagavad Gita, putting your intelligence and mind to these things, and gradually learning how to do that. Then only your mind will get purified. So in the 7th and 8th shlokas, Krishna is further saying, for one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached. Jitatma prashantasya paramatma samahitah. If you've conquered the mind, you have already connected with the Paramatma. Right? For he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. This is the meaning of a person who has conquered the mind. Because it's the mind which creates this duality of heat and cold, honor and dishonor, distress and happiness and everything. It's called Dvandva Moha. The duality is created by the mind. Whenever a thought comes, it will split into good, bad, duality. So, if you've conquered the mind, you can only see Krishna everywhere. And you become tranquil and peaceful. Because there is no duality, it's beyond the duality. Right? So if you go to 8th shloka, he explains that a person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi or mystic when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it be pebbles, stone, or gold, as the same. He has no special value because of his spiritual position. Yes. So this is the meaning of a yogi. Krishna is first describing mind. And if you conquered the mind, then you will become a yogi. And if you become a yogi, this is the way you will be. Doesn't matter if it is gold or mud or stone or this thing. It's all of same value. Everything material is of the same value. There's no big difference. If you're situated in spirituality, then matter is matter, even if it is gold. Doesn't matter. Okay? If you go to Shloka 9, a person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral mediators, the envious friends and enemies, the pious and the sinners, all with an equal mind. He has no enemies. He has no enemies and is never judgmental materially about anybody or anything. Why? He has transcended the mind. The mind is working for him. So you will not see a Krishna conscious person looking at somebody as an enemy. He'll only do his duty, what is supposed to be done, irrespective of what the person feels or whatever. Because it has to be done for Krishna, I'm doing it. That is the type of thing Krishna is asking Arjuna to be in. That mental bhava, right? So these are all instructions about the mind. If you want to be a yogi, and yogi means sannyasi. Sannyasi means one who has given up work for sense gratification. And therefore, Krishna is coming to the point of asking Arjuna to be a yogi. Why are you attached to the results? Okay, that's why it's interesting. Okay, I will stop here. There's a lot of theory given to you. And maybe if anybody has a question or a comment.